I also welcome to Dr. Kanika Mandalji here. She is with us. So thank you being with us. मैं आप सभी का स्वागत करता हूं और सबसे पहले मैं कनिका जी का परिचय यहाँ पर सभी को देना चाहूंगा, जिन्होंने अपना मास्टर्स और पीएचडी दोनों जो है वो महाराजा सयाजीराव यूनिवर्सिटी बड़ौदा से कंप्लीट किया हुआ है। और इनका पीएचडी का जो टॉपिक रहा है ये एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक है, पर्टिकुलर फॉर मी, क्योंकि म्यूजियम्स की डेफिनेशन में हम हमेशा ये कहते हैं हमारे म्यूजियम में मोर देन 70% स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं। और उन्होंने पीएचडी का बहुत अच्छा टॉपिक लिया था, द रोल ऑफ म्यूजियम इन डेवलपमेंट ऑफ चिल्ड्रन, अ स्टडी ऑफ म्यूजियम एजुकेशन इन इंडिया। सो इट्स वेरी नाइस टॉपिक और ये बहुत आवश्यक बात है, क्योंकि आज भी हमारे संग्रहालय के जो भी कंटेंट डेवलपर्स होते हैं, पैनल डिजाइनर्स जो भी होते हैं, म्यूजियम डिजाइनर जो होते हैं, एग्जिबिट डिजाइनर जो होते हैं, दे नेवर वरीड अबाउट दिस स्टूडेंट्स फॉर स्पेशली फॉर द चिल्ड्रंस। तो ये बहुत अच्छी बात है कि आपने ये किया। और आपका टॉपिक ऐसा, तब मैं हमेशा रिसर्च के बारे में कहता हूँ, सम रिसर्च विच वी नेवर कैन इम्प्लीमेंट बट सम रिसर्च आर देयर, कि जिसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना बहुत आवश्यक है। तो ये आपका टॉपिक मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगा कि जिसे इम्प्लीमेंट किया जाना चाहिए सभी म्यूजियम्स के इसमें। उनका एक्सपीरियंस अगर हम देखें तो उन्होंने एज अ म्यूजियम कंसल्टेंट वर्क किया है नेशनल म्यूजियम फॉर ट्राइबल फ्रीडम फाइटर्स राजपीपला गुजरात में। उसके पहले उन्होंने वर्क किया है एज अ टीचर, फिर उसके बाद एज अ यूनिवर्सिटी के इसमें भी उन्होंने कार्य किया है। बिसाइड दिस ओनली एकेडमिशियन वर्क, एग्जाम और रिलेटेड जिम्मेदारियों को भी उन्होंने पूरा किया है। अभी वो जो वर्क कर रही है एज अ प्रोजेक्ट एसोसिएट फॉर द इंदिरा गांधी नेशनल सेंटर फॉर द आर्ट्स एंड वडोदरा रीजनल सेंटर वडोदरा, अप्रैल 2019 से ये अपना कार्य कर रही है। उसके बाद हम अगर ट्रेनिंग के बारे में देखा जाए तो कई अलग अलग ट्रेनिंग्स उन्होंने ली हुई है और स्पेशली उनको जो अवार्ड्स एंड स्कॉलरशिप मिले हुए हैं, सो एनटीआई सीवीए यूके का विजिटिंग फेलोशिप उनको मिला था 2016-17 में। उसके पहले उनको यूजीसी का जूनियर रिसर्च फेलोशिप एंड सीनियर रिसर्च फेलोशिप दोनों वो प्राप्त है। उसके साथ सीडॉक बजरी अवार्ड भी उनको प्राप्त हुआ है गेटी फाउंडेशन का। उसके बाद यूनिवर्सिटी रिसर्च फेलोशिप एमएस यूनिवर्सिटी का है, चांसलर्स गोल्ड मेडल उनको प्राप्त हुआ है। फिर उसके बाद मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कल्चर का एचआरडी स्कॉलरशिप उनको प्राप्त हुआ है। उसके साथ साथ एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम अवार्ड उनको मिला हुआ है बेस्ट पेंटिंग इन ऑयल, जामिया मिलिया यूनिवर्सिटी जो है न्यू दिल्ली का, उनकी तरफ से। कई सारे नेशनल इंटरनेशनल लेवल के रिसर्च पेपर्स उन्होंने अभी तक पब्लिश किए हैं। और उसके साथ वेबिनार्स और सेमिनार्स में उन्होंने अपना प्रेजेंटेशन किया हुआ है। ग्रुप एग्जीबिशंस एंड आर्ट्स कैंपस में भी उन्होंने हिस्सा लिया है। सो मैं इस परिचय को बहुत शॉर्ट करके आपके सामने बता रहा हूँ, मुझे क्षमा कीजिएगा। मैं कनिका जी से विनती करता हूँ कि कृपया वो आज के अपने सत्र की शुरुआत करें।
Thank you so much, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible? Okay. Yeah. So a very good morning to everyone, and thank you for your kind introduction, sir. And with this, without much delay, I think I should begin with my presentation. It's not visible, sir, right? It cannot be seen right now.
You click on present now. Just
Yeah, I did that. I did that.
Yes.
Window or entire
screen?
Yeah, okay. The PPT is opened on. It's open on my laptop.
Yes. Okay. You click on the PPT.
Okay. Oh, one sec. Can it be seen now?
Just a minute.
Is it visible? Yeah.
Yes. After 1 minute we can see.
1 second, sir. Is it visible, sir?
Wait. We must wait for 1 minute, because अगर आपने शुरू भी किया तो मिनिमम 1 मिनट लगता है कि वो हमें यहाँ पर दिखाई दे.
Okay, sir. Okay.
आपकी तरफ आपने एंटायर स्क्रीन क्लिक करके फिर उसके बाद आपने पीपीटी पर ये किया है?
Yes, sir. I did that.
तो एंटायर स्क्रीन करने के बाद में फिर वहां पर कुछ पूछा था, तो अगर पूछा है तो वहां परमिट करना चाहिए आपको.
Okay. Should I do it once again then? नहीं होगा then I think.
अगर आपके सामने अगर दिखाई दे रहा है यू आर प्रेजेंटिंग नाउ, ऐसा अगर दिखाई दे रहा है तो उसको स्टॉप प्रेजेंटिंग कीजिए. नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है तो आप पहले प्रेजेंट नाउ पर क्लिक कीजिए, फिर उसके बाद योर एंटायर स्क्रीन पे. हाँ. Then
actually I can't.
You must allow.
I know I can't see it out here.
Select window और स्क्रीन आपको दिख रहा है. आपने फायरफॉक्स में ऑन किया है, गूगल क्रोम में ऑन किया है?
This is on Chrome, sir.
Then okay, no problem. तो आप उसको जो है आपका एंटायर स्क्रीन पे फिर से एक बार क्लिक कीजिए और उसको अलाउ कीजिए.
1 second.
If there is problem, don't worry. I will share from here. Just you talk.
Okay.
May I do?
Let me just give it a last try, or else you do it, right?
Yeah.
It says my screen is visible. It's being shared. Can it be seen? It's the Museums of Gujarat.
No.
No, you can see the title slide.
No.
Okay.
Don't worry. You stop from there. I will continue from this side.
Fine, sir. Okay.
It's okay. Just.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Now you can talk. Yeah, we can see here everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So my topic today is Museums of Gujarat. Can we go to the next slide? Next, please. Yeah. So the Museums of Gujarat can basically be divided into two broad categories. As such, there are more than 60 museums presently in Gujarat. So the first category goes as government museums and the second category as non-government museums. Next. So under the category of government museums, this can further be subdivided as museums under the state government, museums under the state autonomous bodies, which comprises universities, college and departments, municipal corporations, and museums under the central government. That's by the ASI, that's the Archaeological Survey of India. Next. Under the state government, these museums are looked out by the Department of Museums, Government of Gujarat. And so the first museum which represents the state, the Baroda, so the Baroda State Museum, that's the Baroda Museum and Picture Gallery. And there are 14 district museums. Next. So this is a list of 14 museums. So we have Kutch Museum in Bhuj, Watson Museum, Junagadh Museum, Darbar Hall, then Prabhas Barton Museum, Archaeological Museum, Jamnagar, Lady Wilson Museum. Then I'll not read the entire list, and we'll be looking into some of the museums today. So under the state autonomous bodies, we have university museums, department museums, and municipal corporations. Under the university museums, we have Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel University Museum, Vallabh Vidyanagar, then department museums, Museum, Department of Museology, MSU, Museum in the Department of Archaeology, MSU, and under the municipal corporations, Health Museum in Vadodara, then Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Museum, Surat Municipal Corporation, that's in Surat, and the Kite Museum, Ahmedabad. Next, please. Under the central government, we have the Lothal Museum, which is a site museum. Next. Under the non-government category, which was the second category, we have museums looked after by the private trust, then the museums by individuals, museums by NGOs, and some by the private companies. Next. Yeah. And under the private trust, these are a few examples. I'll be talking about some of them in detail. And as you know, because of the time constraint, it's not possible to discuss all, but we'll try to see as much as possible. So the first is the Maharaja Fateh Singh Museum, which is located in Baroda. Then the Calico Textile Museum in Ahmedabad, LD Museum in Ahmedabad, and by the Shreyas in Ahmedabad. That is Shreyas Folk Museum. Then under the non-government museums category, we have museums by individuals, which is the Vichar Utensil Museum, Ahmedabad, Coins Museum in Baroda, Vintage Cars Museum in Ahmedabad. Then museums by private companies, we have one by the Reliance Industries in Baroda, and Olympic Group in Baroda is also coming up with a museum for their Olympic Group. And by the NGOs, we have the Adivasi Academy, Vacha Museum, that's in Tejgarh, and the Rotary Dolls Museum in Rajkot. Next. Now, museums basically were not just a museum. The Baroda state is all because of the Gaikwads. Next. Okay. Can we have all the three pictures? Yeah. Okay. So the first one is Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad III. Yeah. So he is the ruler, he's a visionary, and he's the one who actually, the Baroda as it is today is because of his vision. And he was the one who started off who actually established the Baroda Museum and Picture Gallery, and the Lakshmi Vilas Palace and the Maharaja Fateh Singh Museum in fact came up later, but because of the collections he acquired over the years. Then we have Maharaja Fateh Singh Rao Gaikwad, the second photograph, and he is the one who actually converted he actually created the Maharaja Fateh Singh Museum. Then the third one, the third photograph is Maharaja Samarjit Singh Gaikwad and Maharani Radhika Raje, who are the present rulers of the Gaikwads. Next, please. Yeah. So we begin with Baroda Museum and Picture Gallery. As the name itself includes two buildings, as we can just see, it's Baroda Museum and Picture Gallery. So the Baroda Museum came into establishment prior to the Picture Gallery. So Picture Gallery was actually the later addition to the museum. Now this museum is very important as it was a purposely built museum, which was very rare in those times. Most of the museums, as we look at history, are adapted museum buildings, so which actually presents a lot of problems for from the functional aspect of the museum in the present times. And if we look at the history of this museum, it's interesting. The foundation stone was laid in 1887, and the museum was opened to the public in 1894. And as I said, it was a vision of Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad III, who was a then ruler of Baroda, and it was Maharaja's way of thinking that his subjects, but the people of Baroda, should not be deprived of what is happening in the world around. And that's how the museum was created. And because he used to travel abroad frequently, he was acquainted with the cultures, and he wanted the people of Baroda not to be left behind and get a taste and get a flavor of how things were happening in the world at the time. So the Picture Gallery, as I mentioned, was a later addition, and it started in 1908. And it was completed in 1914. But because of the World War I happening, the gallery couldn't be opened, and it was opened only in 1921. And why there was a gap and why the impact of World War happened, because the picture gallery basically comprises a lot of pictures which were bought by the Maharaja from abroad on his foreign trips, and those could not be imported, they could not be brought down to India. So that's how the delay happened. And the building was designed by Mr. R.F. Chisholm and Major R.N. Mann. And it is Indo-Saracenic architecture. We'll see in the slides further that like what is the meaning of Indo-Saracenic and the elements, the representative elements of this type of architecture. And as I said, it's a purposely built museum, which was rare in those times. And the scope is basically of history, art, and science. So we can say it's a multidisciplinary and a multi-purpose museum. This is the photograph of the museum. Next, please. On the left, we can see the southern entrance, which was actually the initial entrance to the museum. And as we try to observe the Indo-Saracenic elements, so Indo-Saracenic type of architecture was a combination of Mughal and British and European elements. And we can see those the significant features in this building, museum building. Can we see the next? The chhatris are basically the Mughal influence. Then the first image is of the European ceiling, which is inside the museum and which is still as it is. Then we can also see the Parthenon frieze, which runs through the entire four sides of the museum building. Next, please. Yeah, so these patterns are the Mughal influence, the elements in the building. Next, please. Yeah, so when we look at the collections, it has some rare collections are housed in the museum. So we have the Hamza Nama and other miniature paintings. Then we have the Egyptian mummy. There are only 6 mummies in India, original mummies. And this particular mummy was bought by Maharaja on one of his trips. And we have the skeleton of the Blue Whale, then the Akota bronzes and European paintings gallery, which represents 14 schools, 14 different schools. And it also has Indian modern art. And we have the Shamlaji sculptures. These are just to name a few. Next, please. Next. Yeah, so this is the Hamza Nama, and this is from the Akbar's court, the Mughal painting, painted during the Akbar's time, and in 1570, and this is gouache on cloth. In medium, and this is huge, almost 75 by 77 or 75 by 100 centimeter. It's a huge painting. And originally only 5 paintings of the Mughal period of this kind, of the Hamza Nama folios, are there, and only one rare we have in Baroda Museum. And Akbar, as we know, was a lot of the painting, the miniature paintings. The school developed a lot under his patronage. And this the painting has shows a battle scene of Prophet Muhammad, and combined with some romantic tales which were a favorite of Akbar. And we can see the text in Persian on the top and the bottom. And many of the miniature paintings usually had text on the back side, but now it's actually a controversy among the art historians who believed initially that the text was read when the patron could see the painting in front. And now it says the text and the painting, the stories which were told, they're not the same. So there's still a controversy on that. Next one. Okay, so these are few of the sculptures. On the left, we have the Akota bronzes. This is a very important group of sculpture, because these small little bronze figures were excavated in Akota only, in Baroda itself. Then we have one of Shiv Duti from Gujarat, and we have another one called Bhairava, and this is also from Gujarat, from 11th century. Next, please. Then we have the European Paintings Gallery. On the left, we have a family group, which is from the Dutch school, and a portrait of Catherine de Braganza from the 17th century. Next. Okay, and the museum also has modern Indian art, and which comprises Nicholas Roerich, and this is it has beautiful paintings by Nicholas Roerich. He was a Russian master who came to India in 1928 or something, and he had a spiritual journey. So he was very fond of, and he has painted a lot of paintings on the Himalayas. So this is Kanchenjunga. Next, please. They also have Jamini Roy, yes, and this is F.N. Souza and N.S. Bendre. Next. Now this is a temple hanging called Pichwai, and this one is Danalila titled, and from the Rajasthani Kishangarh from 1770, again gouache and cloth. This is a huge temple painting, and these temple hangings, they used to serve as the backdrop for the temples, and basically they added to the ambience, and in front of that they and belong to the Vaishnavite culture, Vaishnavism. Next, please. Then the museum also has beautiful tribal dioramas. Next. Then there is a collection of tribal instruments, and these are fishing equipments and pots and all. Okay, so we move to the next museum, which is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel University Museum. This was established in 1949 by Charotar Vidya Mandir Trust, and then it was called Museum of Art and Archaeology. In 1960, it was taken over by SPU and by the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel University, and that's how the name changed. And the museum basically caters to the needs of the university and school groups. Its main collections include the Tuti collection, the 13 paintings by Kalaguru Ravi Shankar Rawal, and some dinosaur fossils from Balasinor, which is in Gujarat site. Activities, they have had special touch and learn programs for visually challenged, and one unique collection of the museum is the 43 anatomical specimens which were donated to the museum by the medical college from the same university. And the museum actually is there on the SPU website. They just have one page, which of course lacks a lot of information, but it's now very active on social media, on Facebook, Insta and all. Yeah, next. Now we see some slides. Next, please. Yeah, so this is the museum, the outside of the museum. Next. This is the inside. Next. Okay, so these are the gallery spaces, and what we see are the freestanding showcases in which the objects are displayed. Next. Another showcase. So what is interesting, like we can observe that there is a backdrop, there is the blown up image of that culture representative, and in front of that we have the object. So these are some of the collections. Next, the left one is a Chinese bell, and okay, so these are the anatomical specimens. Yeah, and on the right we have the bear. Next. Next, yeah. So this is the gallery label. Next. And then we have the Indus Valley Civilization, some potsherds and all in the showcase. Next. And these are the dinosaur fossils. Next, from Balasinor. Okay. So this is a Museum of Tribal Research and Training in Gujarat, Vidyapeeth, Ahmedabad, and it was established as a university museum in 1962. And its collections mainly include ethnological collections, including tribal artifacts and dioramic display of Gujarat tribes. It has a beautiful collection of dioramas. Next. Next. Okay, so this is a museum under the Department of Museology, wherein I finished my post-graduation and my PhD. And so this museum, what is most significant, and it's known for the Saptamatrikas, which we can see in the picture. And on the back, on the rear wall, we can see a long scroll kind of a thing that's on the wall. That's a painting by which shows the battle between the Tipu and the Britishers, and it is said after that battle Tipu Sultan lost, and that's how the British got entry into India. Next. Next. Okay, so the museum came into establishment with the Department of Museology in 1952, and it serves as a laboratory for students, wherein students of museology basically can they carry out their experiments of their learning, and they can do all those gallery exercises in the museum related to their curriculum. Then we have the main collection of the Saptamatrikas and painting scroll, which I mentioned. Then there are Ragmala paintings, which are 12 of them. Ragmala, and leather puppets, then some dated manuscripts, stone tools, etc. And activities of college and school groups, they cater to their learning needs. Next. Okay. So this is another, we can see the showcases in the background, and these are the Saptamatrika sculptures in front. Next. Okay, so we can just quickly see there are 3-4 slides which shows the 9 the mother goddesses. Next, there's a Veenadhari Shiva, the Varahi. Next, this is the Bhairava. Next, that's Chamunda. Next, yeah. So this is the Ragmala painting. So these particular group of sculptures were excavated in North Gujarat in 9th century. Okay, so the museum also has Ragmala paintings. Ragmala paintings are basically pictorial depiction of Indian ragas and raginis, and it belongs to the Malwa school. Yeah.
सुष्मिता चक्रवर्ती जी, खुद को प्रेजेंट करना बंद कर दीजिए. सुष्मिता चक्रवर्ती जी, खुद को प्रेजेंट करना कृपया बंद कर दीजिए. Just a minute, very sorry. Just a minute. Now, okay.
Yeah, okay. So when I was doing my research during that period, I had started organizing learning programs. So this is one of the local schools, the Navrashna school, international school, and the children had come down. So they were given a gallery walk, a museum walk, and then after that they, in the lowest window, I mean the cornermost, we can see I converted the miniature painting and made it into a jigsaw puzzle, so the children could piece it together. Next, please. Okay, so this is a feely bag activity which the students of museology, they usually do as a part of their educational exercise. So they are given some objects, some replicas, and without opening they have to feel and describe the object and guess basically what is there inside. Next. Okay, so we move on to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Museum and Science Center, Surat. So this was established initially in 1890 by the then collector of Surat, Mr. Winchester, in his own house by the riverside. Then in 1956, it was given to Sudharai, which is the old name of Surat Municipal Corporation. It was inaugurated by Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri, and this was when India had recently gained independence. And Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri was the then railway minister, who later became the president. And later on, the name was given as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Museum, just to honor him for his contribution in the freedom struggle. And besides the name, it's important to note that the museum does not have any collection related to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. It's just the name and no other association. And it has a history, and it deals with the history and trade of Surat. Surat, as we know, has been a trading hub. And unfortunately, Surat is also prone to frequent floods, and in 2006, when the whole city was completely affected, and 80% of the museum's collection was lost. And it is remarkable to see how, because of the effort of the curator, Ms. Bhamini ma'am, and her staff, the team of the museum could save and bring out that collection and whatever remaining. And now it is in a beautiful space, which we'll see in the slides. And it includes sculptures from Chola period, Shamlaji, Nepal, and decorative art from ivory, brittyware, trading jars, etc. And it represents world cultures, and they have a number of temporary exhibitions, then summer camps for children, and they also have a science center which is very active. And the museum presently is undergoing refurbishment, and it will be shifted to the Fort Museum. So they'll be clubbing together and functioning very soon. They'll be together. Yeah. So these are the photographs which I captured in around 6 years ago, in 2015 or 16, and like this is of the Science Center, and the lower one is of the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Museum. Next, yeah. So that's the art gallery, which is again one portion of the museum, and the lower one is of a school group. So you can see it has a huge space, and wherein they have these school groups. They are regularly visiting the museum for study purposes. Next. Okay, so this is of the gallery and another school group's visit. Next. Okay. So this is a view of the galleries from the ground floor, and there's a palanquin on display and another school group on a museum visit. Next. Okay, so the left one is again of the view of the gallery, and the lower one is they represents that Surat also has a cotton textile industry. So it is the entrance to the gallery. Next. Okay, so this is one of the selfie corners, and the right one is of the Science Center, the science exhibits. Next. That's on the left is the AV room. They have this audiovisual film, which is around 30-40 minutes, which tells about the history of Surat. And on the right is a children's discovery area, a learning corner, you can say. So this is important, as not all museums plan out such areas, and many times it happens that when you have school groups or large group of visitors coming down, unlike the present situation, which is an exemptional situation, museums run out of spaces to cater to offer them spaces. And this museum is, because of the space and their planning, they have huge spaces allocated for different types of visitors and learning needs, different learning needs. Next. Okay, so this is a collection. Next, please. This is a wooden trading box, which I mentioned, laid with semi-precious stones. It's a Chinese vase. These are the sculptures from Chola. Next. Okay, so this is a garden seat, which is interesting. I mean, on the right, I've tried to bring up a close-up image of the same. This is from the 18th-19th century, from the local Surat some park. Next. Okay, so the museum also has, as I said, it has it represents world culture. So these are the cutleries on display. So we can see the exhibition techniques being to make the exhibition more attractive, wherein you have blow-ups of the collection of the exhibits right at the back, and in front you have the collection, the exhibits, which is small, which might get unnoticed, and to avoid that, to catch people's attention, you have the blow-ups in the background and the detail label. Next, please. Okay, so this is the entrance to the Diamond Gallery. What I intended to share here was that, the museum is vast, and as of now, since it's moving on to refurbishment, it would be happening soon. So the museum would shift in the Science Center, which includes the Diamond Gallery also, and that would expand. That would, because of the growing needs of the museum and the Surat visitors. Next. Okay, so this is the top one is from the the Diamond Gallery, and the lower one is one of the descriptive labels in the gallery. Next. As I'm so sorry, the Surat also has a diamond industry. It's known for the diamond, so that's how it has a diamond gallery. Okay, so we have this Lothal Museum in Lothal, which is a site museum under the ASI, established in 1977 and a result of archaeological excavation at Lothal. And collections are earthen pots, containers, seals and all. And Lothal, as we know, is the only prehistoric Chalcolithic site in India, and as it can actually be compared to Mohenjo-daro and Harappa from the Indus Valley civilization. Yes, so these are just two photographs. Next. Okay, so we come down to Maharaja Fateh Singh Museum, which is looked after by the Maharaja Fateh Singh Museum Trust. Next. Yeah, okay. So these are the entrances to the museum. Now this museum came into existence in 1961, and it was basically the royal collection of the Gaikwads and Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad, whatever he collected on the world trips. It was basically converted into a museum. Next, please. Okay, so by Maharaja Fateh Singh Rao, and initially it was a school to the royal children, and later, as I mentioned, it was converted to a museum to basically house the royal collection. And its main collection include paintings by Raja Ravi Verma, his oleographs, sculptures by Phanindranath Bose, Felici, Wedgwood pottery, and conch shells, then Chinese and Japanese porcelain, and most of these, in fact, a lot of these items which were not collected by the Maharaja, they were also gifted to him on his when the foreign guests used to come or he used to travel. And the activities they hold include fold building, then Ganesha idol making. These are two very popular programs they do like for almost 10 to 12 years. And they have special guided tours then for corporates and collaborations with our IGNCA and Heritage Trust of Baroda. Next. So the left one is the Baroda room, which actually has portraits of all the Gaikwad rulers prior to Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad III. And the right one is the central hall, which has sculptures by Felici, and on the walls, what we can see are paintings by Ravi Verma. Next. Those are family portraits. We'll see more. Okay, so this is the European gallery, then the headgear or the turban gallery, which has turbans of a variety of turbans from Indian communities. Next. Okay, so the museum is known for its Ravi Verma collection of works. So Raja Ravi Verma was a Kerala-based Kerala-born artist who was invited by Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad III to, he was commissioned by him to paint royal portraits and paintings. And when he came to Baroda, he was there for a very long span, and around 43 or so paintings are, rare of his oil paintings are there in Fateh Singh Museum Trust collection, and almost 21 of them are
We lost your voice. We lost your voice.
Oh, okay.
Now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Am I? Oh, I don't know how many slides I missed then.
No.
Should I go back?
Just okay? From here only, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So this is Raja Ravi Verma Gallery. Yeah, next. Okay. So Ravi Verma was born in April 1848, and his first guru was Raja Verma, and he came to eventually came to Baroda. I'll not go much into details. And he got a lot of awards, and he traveled all over India to paint royal portraits, and that's how he was invited by the Maharaja here to come down on patronage. And then he received the Kaisar-e-Hind gold medal and by the Viceroy, Lord Curzon, and that's how the title of Raja he got. and he passed away in 1906. And accounts of his life are there in his brother's diary. Yeah. Next. Yeah. Next. Now, why Raja Ravi Verma got famous? Basically, he made realistic portraits and interpretations of religious and mythological figures. So he painted, while he was here in Baroda, not just the royal portraits, but also mythological paintings. And he is said to be the father of Indian Renaissance art. And like he employed the European painting techniques, oil painting techniques, which he learned from European masters, and painted into Indian subjects, Indian mythological scenes from the Ramayana and from the Mahabharata. And we'll see in the slides what makes his work so outstanding, and the main use of light and shade, bright colors, and realism in his paintings. Okay, so this is the first the toy train. As the school was initially, the museum was initially a school for the royal children, and later converted to the museum. So this is the model of the toy train, which was in which the children used to sit and come from the Lakshmi Vilas Palace to the museum as a school for study. That's a scaled down model of Flying Scotsman. Yeah. So we have few oleographs. So Raja Ravi Verma, at that time, the paintings, the art, it never reached the masses. So he was one artist who wanted his art to reach to the common man. And that's how he started making prints of his own works. Yeah. So these are some of the oleographs, and now we see them very popularly in calendar art. Next. Next. Yeah. We'll quickly go through the slides. Yeah, so this is Sita Bhumi Pravesh. This was the painting which Raja Ravi Verma got with him when he came to meet Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad III. And based on this painting, seeing the realism and the portrayal and the emotions which were depicted, Maharaja got impressed, and he was commissioned to stay here and paint the royal paintings. Next. Okay, so the first one is Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad III, and that is this is a portrait when Maharaja's restitution ceremony on 28 December 1881, when he was aged 18 and he took the throne. And the second portrait is Maharani Chimnabai II, the second wife of Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad III, and she was a very forward-looking lady. And very, very bold, very confident, a good hunter. And it is said that just like Maharaja, he was a great visionary, and she was a great support to him. And she left the wheel and abolished Parda system and came out in public, which was something very, very uncommon at that time. Next, please. And he even fought for the rights of the women, and wrote books, and had the All India's Women's First Conference in India. Okay, so these are paintings by Ravi Verma, the Ganga and Shantanu and Nala Damayanti, a part of his mythological paintings. Next. This is Shakuntala writing a letter to Dushyant, Arjun and Subhadra on right. Next. This is Bharat. Yeah. It is said that yeah, one second. I just want to see. Yeah. So this is Bharat shown as a child. Now Ravi Verma was even criticized for his art style by some art critics, that at times certain portion of his works were left a little unfinished. Like on the top, you can see there's some legs of a lion, and that's not treated as realistically as the figure of the child is treated. That's on the left hand corner, and but later on it was even believed that he did it on purpose, because he did not give the same amount of treatment to the entire painting. Next. Okay, so this is the Wedgwood pottery, and next. Yeah, okay, and on the right we have the conch shells in cameo. This is an Italian technique. So the museum has rare collection of these Wedgwood pottery and the cameo shells from Italy. Next. We also have Chinese and Japanese porcelain vases. Next. This is a photograph of the fort building activity, which is held annually, and it's a very popular event in Baroda. Next. Okay, so prior to the activity, the person, a sculptor is invited and who gives in a demonstration to the children. And this is, and the lower one, you can see the crowd in the lower image. So this is the, next please. Yeah, so this is Ganesh idol making competition. Next. Next, please. Okay. So this is the popularity. I mean, we can see how many children come down for to be a part of this. It's because this is an annual event. Next. Okay. So we move on to Calico Museum of Textiles, Ahmedabad, established in 1949, run by Vikram Sarabhai Foundation, and it's the only specialized textile museum in India, and first museum which is devoted to the study of textile history and technology. And it has a few noted publications as well. Next. These are some of the photographs. Next. Next, please. Yeah. So the Shreyas Folk Art Museum, the first folk art museum in Gujarat, established in 1977 by the Shreyas Foundation, and it has a beautiful collection of embroidery, beadwork, wood carvings, and even ethnic cultures, and showcases tribes of Gujarat. That's Rabadi, Bharwar, Kanbi, Koli, Bhansali, Rajput, etc. Next. So these are some of the photographs. Next. Then we have this LD Museum Institute of Indology in Ahmedabad, and established in 1957, now run by a private trust. And it has a very exquisite collection of Jain manuscripts, book covers, paintings on cloth paper, Jain paintings. Next. And the museum as of now is doing very good learning programs on Insta and FB, and their web pages we can see. They have regular posts. The next is the Lakshmi Vilas Palace of Baroda. So this was also built by Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad III, and it was built in 1890 as a royal residence for the Gaikwads. And in those days, it was the largest private dwelling. And it is 4 times in size of Buckingham Palace, London, and it is also designed in the Indo-Saracenic architecture, which means it's a combination of Mughal and Maratha and British elements. And it's built over 500 acres of land. We'll see in the photographs. And the chief architects were Major R.N. Munt, and completed by Robert Chisholm. Robert Chisholm, who also this is a pair of the designers and the architect who even built the Maharaja the Baroda Museum and Picture Gallery. And Robert Chisholm is said to be the pioneer of Indo-Saracenic architecture style, which is said to be a 19th century revivalist architecture, which was adopted by the British designers to design paintings in India and palaces. And its main collections include sculptures by Felici. As Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad, being a visionary, he invited a lot of artists like Ravi Verma, even foreign artists, to come and stay and work for him. And it has this the palace also has collection of Ravi Verma, and the Shastraghar, which is the arms and armor section, which is very famous, and chandeliers, and also the Navlakhi stepwell. Next, next please. It has audio guides, and a lot of foreign tourists come down. So this is a view of the palace. Next. Next, please. It has almost 170 rooms. So the first image on the top is of the, as soon as we enter from the inside of the palace, and the next one is the Darbar Hall, or the Royal Assembly Hall. Next. This is a Rotary Dolls Museum in Rajkot, and it was envisioned by a Rotarian, Mr. Deepak Agarwal, in 2001 and inaugurated on 26 July 2004. And this is only dolls museum in India which is featured in the Limca Book of Records, and maintained by the Rotary Club and Shri Arvind Bhai Manyar Jan Kalyan Trust and Rajkot Nagrik Sankhari Bank Limited, and where it is housed. And its main collection includes 1,600 dolls from different continents and cities of the world. And there are dolls of astronauts, ball dancers, folk dancers, Barbies, different types of Barbies. Then they have props of doll houses, etc. And the purpose is basically for the study and enjoyment of the Rotary Club members and the local visitors. Next. This is copy of the Limca Book of Records, where it got a recognition. Next. Okay, so this is a photo of the museum. Next. Okay, so the left one is said to be the lucky doll. So when the person who Arvind Thai, who actually decided to build a museum, he wrote down a letter to all the Rotary clubs of the world and to ask them to donate their dolls from representing their cultures and their country. So this is said to be the first doll which came in, and eventually, after this doll was received by them, the collection kept on growing. And on the right, there is this rocking zebra, which is made of steel and wood. So the dolls did not come alone. They had their whole, props, like the doll houses and the wooden toys and all. And this particular toy can actually take in a weight of up to 109 kg. It's made of steel and wood. Next. Okay, so this is a photograph of the showcase. So different countries' dolls are there, and each section has the flag of the country which it represents. Next. Okay, next. Next, please. Yeah. So, which are Utensils Museum? This is one unique museum in India, the only museum perhaps which preserves utensils, and established in 1981 as a public charitable trust by Sri Surendra C. Patel, who was the founder, the collector, and the designer also of the museum. And the building design is of vernacular architecture, which means it is more of it represents more of functional aspect rather than the beauty or beauty aesthetic aspect. Then other collections includes utensils, writing equipment, traveling utensils, and it has about 4,000 utensils on display, which are very old, aging between 50 to 1,000 years, and some beetle nut crackers, which are again small to large, 1 inch to 18 inches in size. Next. Next, please. Okay, so this is the entrance to the museum. Next. Photograph of the galleries. Next. Next. Yeah, so we can see, utensils of various size used for various purposes. The daily household utensils, from utensils used for marriage and other social gatherings wherein food is cooked for large groups. Next, please. And they also have a restaurant, so you can see the utensils, see the display and then have food in similar utensils. It's a different experience. Next. Okay. So they have this step kind of display, which is a little unique, and aesthetically also it is very pleasing. You see a lot of similarity and uniformity flowing all through the display. Next. Okay. So this is a Kutch Museum. It was established on 1st July 1887. It's the oldest museum of Gujarat and initially a part of the School of Arts, and the first museum of India to become online as virtual museum in 2010, and largest collection of Kshatrapas inscriptions, Shilalik stones, paintings, etc. And next, so this museum was basically destroyed. The first floor of the museum was completely lost during the earthquake in Bhuj, and later on they were rebuilding. In fact, they were shifted to Alfred High School, which was located right next to the museum. And as of now, the museum is closed down because of COVID. It is not really opened up, except for the Baroda Museum in Gujarat. It's not opened up. Many museums under the state government, they have not opened. Next. This is the photograph of the museum. Next. Okay, the collections. Next. Lady Wilson Museum, Dharampur. Okay, so this is in the tribal belt, located in the tribal belt of Gujarat. It has 9 categories of exhibits and total around 8,433 objects in its collection. Next, this is a photograph of the museum. Next. This is of the dioramas of the tribes. Next. Then musical, tribal musical instruments. Next. Then there is a museum in Saputara as well, that is in the Dang district of Gujarat, and again devoted to tribal art and culture, and it possesses around 420 objects. Next. 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 So it has, it has beautiful collection of these tribal masks, which were basically used, are used by the tribal, the Dang tribes as of now also. Next. So these are the pots, the earthen pots. Next. Yeah. So the tribal jewelries and the dioramic displays. So as we come to the end, I would like to thank Dr. Bhujang Gobade, the Director of Archives, Museums and Department, Dakri, Hyderabad, for creating this platform and giving us a chance to share our ideas. And to Professor Sanjay Jain, my mentor, who was the ex-dean of the Faculty of Fine Arts, for his guidance and support in helping me shape this presentation. Ms. Manda Hingorao, the curator, and curators from various museums of Gujarat who helped in sharing all the information for preparing the presentation, and my friends Margi and Hardi who were helpful in sharing the information. Then of course to my parent organization IGNCA. Thank you. These were the references and the list of references which I referred. Next. Yeah. Any questions if anybody wants to ask?
So thanks a lot. It's a wonderful journey of this our museums in Gujarat. हमेशा एक बात है कि जब हम गुजरात के बारे में सोचते हैं तो म्यूजियम और म्यूजियोलॉजी के बारे में सबसे पहले बड़ौदा महाराजा सयाजीराव गायकवाड़ यूनिवर्सिटी का नाम पहले दिमाग में छप जाता है, वो पहले छप गया है। दूसरा है कि फिर महाराजा सयाजीराव जिन्होंने इसके बारे में वर्क किया और उनके वजह से ये साइंटिफिक स्टडीज अबाउट द म्यूजियम एंड म्यूजियोलॉजी हमारे इसमें शुरू हुआ, इसका ये आ जाता है। फिर उसके बाद कुछ म्यूजियम्स दिमाग में अलग अलग जगह जैसे हम जाते हैं तो आते हैं, जैसे लोथल है, धोलवीरा है, या फिर जैसे टेक्सटाइल म्यूजियम की आपने बात की, स्पेशलिटीज क्या है उसके बारे में। फिर कैल्को म्यूजियम का एक स्पेशलिटी मेरे लिए रहा कि मैंने जो अपनी किताब लिखी थी म्यूजियम्स आर्कियोलॉजी एंड कल्चर, तो उसका फ्रंट कवर जो है मैंने उस म्यूजियम का लिया था। तो मुझे एक बड़ी अच्छी बात लगी थी क्योंकि सारा भाई और उनका सभी फैमिली और उन्होंने जो किया, सो इट्स सो नाइस थिंग, बहुत अच्छा लगा। और यहाँ पर गरिमा शर्मा जी ने विक्रम भारद्वाज जी ने एक सवाल पूछा है, आपने जो लकी डॉल दिखाया था क्या वो रशियन डॉल था? इज इट अ रशियन डॉल?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I don't remember clearly, but yeah, I think.
Okay. गरिमा शर्मा जी ने एक सवाल पूछा है, ड्यूरिंग द पैंडेमिक व्हिच म्यूजियम्स इन गुजरात you think created most effective online learning programs for school students?
In Gujarat, it would be difficult to say. But many museums are doing it, like as I mentioned about LD Museum, and they are doing some engagement programs for children, like learning some like day before yesterday I saw some puzzle game they have designed using the Ganjifa cards collection, and some puzzles, some quizzes also come up, some online quizzes they are doing. So and even Baroda Museum, they have come down with a small video of the museum virtual tour. So it's slowly happening. I mean, and even this Sardar Patel University Museum in Sardar Patel University in Vallabh Vidyanagar, they are also very active. They have also done a lot of object study kind of programs. They are doing it. So they're bringing each and every object on their web pages.
ओके, अभी मेरे लिए ही एक सवाल ऐसा है कि मैं जब भावनगर में आया था तो भावनगर में जहाँ पे अभी जो गांधी भवन तो बंद हो गया, बट वहाँ का जो म्यूजियम था एक ऊपर, और एक एक हिस्ट्री म्यूजियम था अभी मुझे
अच्छा।
ठीक से उसका नाम याद नहीं। वो अभी शुरू है या नहीं मुझे पता नहीं। उसके सामने भी एक सरदार पटेल भवन था और वहां पर भी एक म्यूजियम था भावनगर में। क्या
अच्छा।
आज भी वो चल रहा है? इज इट?
I'll not be able to, I mean, give a clear because I haven't visited. I mean, to be honest, I don't hail from Gujarat, but so I haven't visited all the museums, but I tried to cover those which I visited. And
यस, यस।
सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल का एक रेजिडेंस है जो यूनिवर्सिटी म्यूजियम के पास में ही है, which is converted to a museum. That's what I know. That's in Karamsad.
ओके, ओके, थैंक
Yeah,
यू।
yeah.
वन मोर थिंग, जो मैंने बहुत एक बेस्ट म्यूजियम देखा था, इट इज इन राजकोट, अल्फ्रेड हाई स्कूल, जहाँ गांधी जी पढ़े थे। नाउ इट इज कन्वर्टेड इन गांधी म्यूजियम।
गांधी म्यूजियम।
मैंने पूरा दिन उसे मॉर्निंग से लेकर इवनिंग तक पूरा समय देखा था। एट आफ्टरनून मुझे जब भूख लगा था तो उन्हीं के सिक्योरिटी ऑफिसर जो है उनके पास बैठ के वहीं पर हमने किया था। बट इट्स रियली वंडरफुल जर्नी, क्योंकि मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजीज को यूज करके उन्होंने एक हिस्टोरिकल बिल्डिंग को म्यूजियम में जो कन्वर्ट किया है, बहुत अच्छी बात है। तो
Yeah. So abhi to, I mean, lot of technology they are employing in museums. Abhi museums aa bhi rahe hain. Like as I said, ki companies which are coming up, like Alembic Group is also coming up with a museum. Then Reliance Industries also has. Then the museum where I was working, the National Tribal Freedom Fighters Museum, which is completely 100% technology based, and which is in the it's upcoming now. It'll be open soon. The building and all is under construction. So yeah, I mean, it's happening. The scenario is changing, and what I feel that, you know, though museums as of now all over India, they're lacking with resources, and the situation has gone literally worse after the lockdown, and everybody knows after the economic crunch which we are facing. But still, it's, you know, it's open. There's so much of history, there's so much of culture, and so much of treasure we have in India. So people who are enthusiastic about learning art and culture should come forward and you know, join in museology and take in places in museums and see how they can contribute in safeguarding our own culture.
यहाँ पर अंकुर जी ने यहाँ लिखा है, अंकुर जैन साहब ने, यशवी पटेल म्यूजियम लॉस्ट 80% कलेक्शन इन फ्लड्स, so prior to that was there a comprehensive photo documentation done, at least an archive repository is known what is lost.
Yes, the curator Bhamini ma'am was one person who was actually 7 days working day and night with her team, trying to save whatever possible. The museum was completely, we have seen a presentation she gave, and it was completely submerged in mud and you know, complete in silt, and the collection was lost. But still, of course, they were well documented, and that's how whatever they could retrieve, they again rebuilt their museum. So yes, documentation is there.
Yes. यही सिचुएशन अभी कुछ दिन पहले राजस्थान में भी ये इंसिडेंट हुआ था, हम सबने अखबार में पढ़ा था। सेम थिंग विच वाज हैपेंड इन पुणे आल्सो, इन पानशेत डैम जहाँ का ये हुआ था। फिर उसके बाद हमारा आंध्र में जो है आलमट्टी, सॉरी आलमपुर में जब बाढ़ आई थी, कर्नूल और उधर, उस समय शहर में 30 फीट पानी था उस समय जब हम वहां पर थे। वहां का भी पूरा आर्कियोलॉजी म्यूजियम जो है वो पानी के इसमें था। So such type of incidents happens again and again. इसके लिए एक प्लान जो है हमने बना के भी दिया था कि क्या होना चाहिए, किस तरह से होने चाहिए। जहां फ्लड एरिया है, ऐसे एरिया में ग्राउंड लेवल पर म्यूजियम नहीं होना चाहिए। यू कैन एस्टैब्लिश देयर एज एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑफिस और अदर थिंग्स एज अ सेमिनार हॉल्स। अपसाइड यू कैन कंस्ट्रक्ट द म्यूजियम। अगर म्यूजियम का डिजाइनिंग अगर सेकंड फ्लोर, थर्ड फ्लोर इस तरह से अगर किया जाए तो इट विल बी बेटर, क्योंकि द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट आर्ट्स एंड आर्टिफैक्ट्स, एंटिक्विटीज जो है उसको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो सकेगा। ऐसा एक प्लान हमने बनाया था हमारे लेवल पर, बट ये सभी तरफ ही ध्यान दिया जाता है। ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता, क्योंकि पहले से जो एस्टेब्लिश है वो अभी रिज इतने हो चुके हैं, वो जल्दी बदलने के लिए रेडी नहीं है। सो लेट इट, मैं कह रहा आपने अच्छा ये किया अंकुर जी।
Yeah, and there was one thing like जैसे ये जो सूरत म्यूजियम है उनकी they had very good stuffed taxidermy specimens, the stuffed animals. They were completely lost by during the flood. Then they had organic collection on textiles and all. They were also lost. So what they could retrieve was only the metal objects or the stone sculptures, which were kind of inorganic. And so that's what they have preserved very well. And when this thing this disaster management, even they are also coming up with a museum in Ahmedabad. So it's only when an experience, a disaster hits, that you know how to deal with the situation, and we learn with the time. Like, everybody is cautious to deal how with the pandemic, the COVID impact now. So that's how I think even our museums are also coping up and learning strategies of overcoming the losses. So yes, I mean the situation is changing and it's positive. The changes are happening. Yeah.
So इसके लिए सबसे बेटर जो है अंकुर जी ने जैसा लिखा है, अगर हम लोग उसका रिपोजिटरी, डिजिटल रिपोजिटरीज अगर बना के रखेंगे, क्योंकि मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजीज में आप आर्टिफैक्ट्स का भी पूरा 360 डिग्री डिजिटाइज करके उसको आप रख सकते हैं. सो इस तरह से अगर हम करके रखते हैं एटलीस्ट आर्काइवल सोर्सेस एंड दिस आर्टिफैक्ट्स एक्टिविटीज, सो इट विल बी बेटर. और एक बहुत
जैसे
मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट हमारा यहाँ अभी जो लोथल में जो नेशनल मैरीटाइम म्यूजियम बनने जा रहा है, उसकी शुरुआत ही इसी के साथ हुई है. ये बड़ी खुशी की बात है, क्योंकि डॉक्टर हसन शिंदे साहब के साथ जब भी इंटरेक्शन होता है तो इसके बारे में वो बताते हैं, तो खुशी होती है कि इस तरह से, यानी शुरुआत से ही अगर हम इस तरह से टेक्नोलॉजी का सभी के फायदे के लिए यूज करके अगर आगे बढ़े, so it will be
yeah. And there was one more thing. जैसे आपने डॉक्यूमेंटेशन का बात किया about digitizing of the collection. I mean, this has just started very recently. If you know about Jatan, and not all museums can afford a Jatan software. And plus, only it have started off the digitization in the national museums. Even Baroda Museum has also done a lot of its collections has been digitized, and the other museums are also doing it. But as I mentioned, it's a problem of resources. The museums lack in manpower, and wherein people are there, even they need to learn that the software and get acquainted and equipped, which is just a matter of time now. But I'm sure this pandemic has given everybody a good amount of space, even to the organizations, to actually to learn, be more technology savvy and learn all these techniques. So the digitization, I agree completely that it should happen more speedily now. But for that, I feel that the more youngsters should join in museums. As even as they can start off with even volunteering also, and later on of course they'll be in a position to man.
ये जतन सॉफ्टवेयर की जो बात है हमेशा जब आती है तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है देयर आर सम फ्री सॉफ्टवेयर आल्सो अवेलेबल. जो हमने इंडियन नेवी का जो म्यूजियम अभी बना रहे हैं उसके लिए भी मैंने उसे सजेस्ट किया था, क्योंकि उसमें टोटली फ्री है, कोई ये नहीं है. और सेम डाटाबेस जो जतन में है वही सेम डाटाबेस हम उसमें भी क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, तो उसको भी हम यूज कर सकते हैं, बस अगर हम कोशिश करें. बट एक्चुअली आपने गुजरात के म्यूजियम्स का जो ढांचा हमारे सामने खड़ा किया ट्रेडिशनली और मॉडर्न के साथ साथ, इट्स रियली वंडरफुल. मैं आपका यहाँ पर दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ. एंड यस, थैंक यू. और समय भी हमारा जो बहुत ज्यादा हो चुका है, सो ज्यादा तकलीफ नहीं देंगे. एंड मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि इसी तरह से हम सब का ये जो है संग्रहालयों का सफर जो है निरंतर चलता रहेगा. So thanks a lot again, and now we'll stop here our today's session. Thank you, Kanya.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah.